What's going on, guys? My name is Lawrence. Welcome to The Catch. This is going to be a channel based around fantasy football. Again, my name is Lawrence. I'm 25 years old. I've been playing fantasy football for about as long as I can remember. I've won some money, lost some money. You know how it goes. But basically what I'm here to do is give you guys in-depth analysis, in-depth opinions on my part. And of course, pursuing what all the big names have to say out there, things like that as well. I'm coming to you guys trying to give y'all the best content that I possibly can. Fantasy football is one of those things where it's fun and it's great. Of course, there's some money involved in it, things like that. If you're into leagues similar to mine, 12 to 14 person league, 15 to 16 rounds, things of that sort. So these things can get very difficult. You start off with the draft, which is right around the corner. Come middle of the line, it doesn't even have to be the back end of the draft. Come the middle of the line, things start to get very difficult. And if you're not a big football guy like I am, you may not even know who these people are. And so that's what I'm here to do, is just help you guys out, give you guys tips, some in-depth analysis as to why you should not stay away from these players, things like that. And with all that being said, thank you guys again so much for coming by and showing love to the channel. My first video ever uploaded to YouTube, so you gotta excuse me. I'm just trying to learn the ropes and things like that. But my first video ever to drop on this channel, the 2019 mid to late round value picks for the NFL Fantasy Football 2019 season. And I want to start off with the wide receiver position. In my opinion, there's a lot of depth in the wide receiver position come the mid to late rounds. So I want to start off with the wide receivers. I'm going to get into some quarterbacks, some tight ends, and most importantly, the running back position. So with that being said, my number one choice, with an ADP of the 8th to 9th round. If you don't know what ADP is, that's your average draft position. Is going to be the 8th to 9th round for this guy. And he's coming right out of Wisconsin, Green Bay, Geronimo Allison. Geronimo Allison is the second string wide receiver behind Davante Adams on the team right now. He only started 4 games last season. He got a little bit injured towards the late end of the season. I can't remember exactly what it was, but middle to late end of the season. And I remember watching this guy and thinking, man, Aaron Rodgers really loves to throw this guy the ball. Again, he only started 4 games. He caught 20 of 30 targets, which is 66.7 catch percentage. Yeah, I understand. 30 total catches, big deal, right? Or 30 total targets, I'm sorry, big deal. But some things that I've noticed with this guy is, again, Aaron Rodgers really loves to throw this guy the ball. He's a confident wide receiver. I spent a couple hours watching some film from Geronimo Allison back from whenever he was in college, now to when he's with Green Bay. Got Aaron Rodgers throwing him the football. Again, he's a confident wide receiver. This guy, he's not afraid to go across the middle. He fights for every yard that he possibly can get. And, he's stiff-arming guys. He's working to get open. He's working for the extra yardage. He's working for the touchdowns. In the first game that he started was against the Chicago Bears. Now, you don't have to be a big football guy to know that the Chicago Bears have arguably one of the best defenses in the NFL right now. So, again, he was 5 of 8, 69 yards, and a touchdown, which is great value for your fantasy team. Great value. If you picked him up and you started that game, you are not upset at all. You are not upset at all. He caught a touchdown pass over the Bears' number 1 cornerback, Kyle Fuller, on a dime by Aaron Rodgers. I actually watched the film, saw the pass, couldn't believe it. I probably watched that damn catch about 5 times, to be completely honest with you. Some of his other stat lines, he played Minnesota again. Not a scrub of a defense. He was 6 of 6 for 64 yards. He had a 10.6 yards per reception that game. Touchdown short from being a solid performance again. He played Washington. He was only 2 of 4 for 76 yards, though. He showed great speed and great route running while breaking free of Josh Norman for a 60, I think it was a 62, 64 yard touchdown pass that game. I have to go back and watch the tape, but I believe it was a 62, 64 yard touchdown pass. And he looked good, man. He broke away. You know, Josh Norman, not one of the fastest cornerbacks in the league. May have been a little bit of a bust in coverage. But nonetheless, he got the safety to bite down, blew right past Josh Norman, you know, one of the top cornerbacks in the league. 60-plus yard touchdown pass. 60-plus yards. Again, guys, I mean, I can't stress this to you guys enough. You know, of course, I know he's got Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball, and it helps, guys. It helps. He's going to be the number 2 wide receiver right beside Davante Adams, who is arguably one of the top 2 quarterbacks in this year's draft going. His last stat line was against Buffalo, 6 of 11, 80 yards. Again, a touchdown short for being a solid outing from a mid to late round pick, guys. This guy was a guy who went undrafted last year. He's a guy that, if you paid attention to the waiver wire, you saw the injury starting to happen, and you saw that Aaron Rodgers really liked to throw Geronimo Allison the football. He really did. In conclusion for Geronimo, again, Rodgers loves throwing in the ball. He's a huge body, big hands, isn't afraid to go up and get it, isn't afraid to go across the middle. He's just one of those guys that I believe this year, being in that pass-heavy offense, I really think he's somebody that can bring value to your team in the 8th or 9th round and become a weekly starter for you. You can flex him in. You can start him as your number 2 wide receiver. You know, I'm not saying go out and get this guy to be your number 1 wide receiver. That's not what I'm saying at all. But he can bring you value in that 8th to 9th round. And I really don't think that you'll be disappointed. I absolutely know for a fact, 100%, I'm going after Geronimo Allison this year in that 8th or 9th round. The second guy on the list, a few of you might be a little bit shocked, a few of you analysts out there. But in my personal opinion, I really, really love D.D. Westbrook. D.D. Westbrook was a guy last year who had Blake Bortles throwing him the football. Yet he managed to lead his team in catches, 101 catches, led the team in yards, led the team in touchdowns, and they had Fournette on the team. You know, I know he didn't play all season, but he's theirs, guys. He's a big-time playmaker. He could absolutely emerge as the wide receiver 1. He is their slot receiver, Marquise Lee. In my opinion, I think his better days are behind him. You know, D.D. has speed. He can break away from that long run. He can take that slant 60 yards to the house. Again, he's primarily lined up in the slot position. They just got Nick Foles over there. So it's going to be a little bit different of a style. For a small frame guy, you wouldn't think that he would be a body or as confident to go up and get it between multiple defenders. You wouldn't think that he would be a guy that could catch the ball, you know, with tight coverage on him. But with you just assuming, you wouldn't know without watching the film. This guy goes and gets it. He makes plays. Bad throw, good throw, it doesn't matter. He had a guy. I'm a big football guy, and I don't know who was throwing him the pass, but he's catching them from everybody. And Nick Foles is no stranger to throwing it deep, and this guy can go and get it, and he can stretch the field. And that's the type of wide receiver, in my opinion, that Nick Foles likes, and the type of wide receiver that Nick Foles has a lot of success with. And for that reason alone, D.D. is going to be one of my top picks. I mean, this guy's going in the 9th or 10th round, guys. You know, he could be your 4th wide receiver, your 5th wide receiver, somebody you can flex in, things like that. If you have somebody go down, he's going in the area of an Emmanuel Sanders, a Marvin Jones, Cortland Sutton, who I think is going to be a little bit overrated this year, especially with Joe Flacco throwing him the football, but that's off topic here. James Washington, Kiki QT, you know, they're all going right around that 9th, 10th round, and I'm picking D.D. Westbrook all day long. I mean, he's going to see the targets. He's going to see the catches. And I mean, what more do you want than the 9th or 10th round? Than a guy who's going to be a playmaker, a guy that has film, has footage, has been in the season, has been in the NFL now for, I believe this is going to be his 3rd season out of Oklahoma. I think he's going to be a great value pick in that late, 9th, 10th round. Of course, right before you're going to start picking up, your defenses and your kickers and things like that. I know it's a couple rounds earlier, but 9th or 10th round nonetheless, in my opinion, he brings you plenty of value, guys. Moving on to the quarterbacks. My number one wide receiver. My number one quarterback going in that middle round. He's got an average draft position, ADP of the 7th round. And this guy, believe it or not, I can't believe he's fallen this low. He's absolutely proven, but it's Russell Wilson, guys. Russell Wilson going in the 7th round. Absolute steal. You could stack up on wide receivers. You can stack up on running backs. You can get yourself a tight end by the time the 7th round comes around. And Russell Wilson, guys, he's proven. He got off to a little bit of a slow start this past season. Only one top 10 finish in his first 6 weeks. But after week 7, which was their bye week, Wilson had 7 top 10 finishes in the final 10 weeks of the season, guys. 7 top 10 finishes in the final 10 weeks of the season. I'm going to go ahead and put this out there because I saw the stat line and I couldn't believe it. But the only person who did any better than him in those 10 weeks, as far as where he landed among total quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes. And guys, Patrick Mahomes had a freak of a season. In my opinion, he's going to digress a little bit this season. You don't see them keep it up. I'm from Texas. He's from Texas Tech. Love the guy, but I think he's going to be taking a few steps back this year, if I'm being completely honest. He also saw 10 top 12 finishes this season. He completed 65.6 of his passes, guys. And he's very dependable. Played all 16 games again. He's also a scrambling quarterback for you. He really didn't do it quite as much, which he was ranked really high on my list last year, simply because he was that, get you the yardage through the air, also get you the yardage on the ground type of guy. He didn't really run the ball a whole lot this year, but that's okay. It's just an option for him, and he's going to do it. If he's on the 10-yard line, nobody's open, he could run it in for you for a touchdown, and who's going to be mad? You know what I mean? He has a lot of success in the red zone. Finished with 24 red zone touchdowns, guys. 24 red zone touchdowns. And guys, I don't know if you guys know this. You probably, if you don't watch a whole lot of football and you don't keep up with a lot of this stuff, but Russell doesn't have a lot of big guys around him to go up and get it in the red zone. Tyler Lockett. Okay, great. I love the guy. He's a great wide receiver. Doug Baldwin, hurt half the season. Much respect to Doug Baldwin. I wish him the best moving forward. But Tyler Lockett is going to be his number one target this season. But a big thing this year moving forward is they got the beast out of Ole Miss, DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf, in my opinion, is going to be one of those guys who can turn a 50-50 ball into a 60-40 ball, 80-20 ball, you name it. He's going to be one of those guys that, while Russell Wilson is scrambling around in the pocket trying to find somebody to throw the ball to, if it's not going to be Tyler Lockett breaking down the field, it's going to be DK Metcalf, who is a monster. He's a monster. I can't remember. I wish I would have wrote it down here what his 40 time was in the NFL Combine this year, but he's an absolute freak. And he can go and get that ball. He can go and get it. So I know he's going to be looking at both him and Tyler Lockett, and I think he can really have a big year. He's one of those guys that can make everybody around him do really well, have a lot of success. He's a great leader, has a lot of great attitude. Plus, he just got a huge payday, guys. I know we see it sometimes where a guy takes a big payday And then they just start kind of relaxing. They don't take it as serious. They're not as motivated. They're not as into the game, things like that. But I highly doubt Russell Wilson is going to be one of these guys. I mean, he came out of Wisconsin. Nobody really gave him a shot besides the Seahawks. And, I mean, he's taken him to the Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl with him. He's finished top 10 every year but once in his career. And number 1 finish in 2017. So, guys, in my opinion, and the value that he brings you in the 7th round, like I said, you can go out there and get set on wide receivers. You can go out there and get set on running backs. In my opinion, average draft position of the 7th round, Russell Wilson, man. Lock it in. Lock it in. Moving on to the second guy. Now, I know you heard me just say that I'm from Texas, and I might get a lot of grief for this because he's my quarterback, Dak Prescott. Average draft position of the 12th round. I was kind of doing a little bit of looking into it. Again, I'm a big-time Cowboys fan, but I didn't realize until I actually looked at all the stats and looked at all the facts how good of a quarterback, fantasy football-wise, he has been, and the quality of player he's been for fantasy football teams since he got into the league. He's finished top 12 quarterback every year he's been in the league. Every year he's been in the league. This is going to be his 4th year going in. That means he's been top 12 in the last 3 seasons, guys. 1 season, half the season he didn't have Zeke, and the rest of that season he had no number 1 target, guys. He's doing it out there with Cole Beasley. He's doing it with Jeff Swaim. He's doing it with people like that. But a big thing about him is he's 25 years old, guys. He's played 16 games every year that he's coming to the season. He's absolutely durable. He's going to make a great backup quarterback for you in your fantasy league. Another big thing with him is you and I both know this guy runs the football. He runs the football. He's physical. He goes and gets it. I was personally at the Seattle Seahawks game when they played him in the playoffs last season, and he took the game. I mean, he put the team on his back. There was a play where I believe it was a design QB sneak from about the 30, 40-yard line. He's breaking tackles, he's diving, he's trying to get the touchdown, he's putting it all on the line for the team, and that's how he's always been since the day that he started playing for the Cowboys. He finished with 6 rushing touchdowns last year, which is 2nd in the NFL behind only Josh Allen, ahead of actually Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson. He had a completion percentage of 67.7 on 526 attempts. A big thing this year, in my opinion, is he's got one of the best wide receiver cores in the NFL. Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup coming in his 2nd year, and we actually just stole Randall Cobb from the Green Bay Packers this year, who I think, like I said, this is going to be the best wide receiver core he's had since he came into the NFL. In conclusion with Dak Prescott and the quarterbacks, again, guys, these are people that you can get mid to late round. Russell's going to be the middle round. Dak Prescott's going to be your later round. So again, I'm not saying that Dak is going to be a guy you want to throw in there and start every game. I'm not saying, hey, go out there and get your number 1 quarterback in the 12th round. Go out there and get you a Russell Wilson in the 7th round, and then come back around in the 12th round and pick you up a Dak Prescott, who's going to bring absolute value to your team. I mean, you really can't go wrong. He's a guy that's a safe backup quarterback. You could start him in every once in a while, depending on how his matchups look like, guys. But again, 12th round, go and get him. This is right before you guys are going to start to pick up, your defenses and your kickers, things like that. 12th round, he really can't do you any harm. And you don't want to find yourself in the middle of the season, come the bye week time, things like that, where you don't have a solid backup. You're searching the waiver wire. There's no more consistent quarterbacks out there that's going to get you these type of numbers. I mean, you're going to be scrambling and get a Nick Mullins like people were last year since Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt, and you just do not want to find yourself in that type of situation. So moving on, guys, tight ends. Vance McDonald. He's going to be my middle of the draft, early 7th round. Vance McDonald's Pittsburgh Steelers. He's coming off of a torn ACL, but was actually given. I'm sorry, not coming off of a torn ACL. He's coming off of a healthy season. Really had no problems. Moving into the starting job, especially after Jesse James left. Antonio Brown is out of the picture now, and this is an offense where it's going to be, we're starting to see it. No Le'Veon Bell, no Antonio Brown. Big Ben's still around. Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be their number 1 wide receiver. James Washington, who actually went to a high school right up from mine. Pretty cool deal that he made it from a small town. If you're anywhere from Texas, he was from Stanford or Stamford with an M, a 1A school. They won the state championship, I believe, his junior, maybe his senior year. Pretty cool, man. He was a freak athlete. But he's going to be their number 2 wide receiver. So Vance McDonald's going to come in and play a huge role. Again, with Jesse James out of the picture, and not a whole lot of idea of what this offense is going to look like. I really think he can get his fair share of targets, get his fair share of plays run, attempts, things of that sort. And he's just a big guy, man. He's physical, and he's playing for one of the statistically best offenses in the league. He's got Big Ben running throwing him the football, things like that, and he's a big target for in the red zone. He was surrounded by talent last year, so he only had 5 top 12 finishes last year. And again, he was surrounded with Juju Smith-Schuster, of course, who's still there, Antonio Brown. He had James Conner came on the scene and really took over and did his part. But again, Vance McDonald, very physical, very big, can make those plays, can be a target in the red zone for Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers. And he's going early 7th round, guys, early 7th round. So if you're not getting a situation where you're getting yourself a Zach Ertz, a Travis Kelce, Hunter Henry, Eric Ebron, you're not getting any of those guys, wait and get Vance McDonald, man. He's going to be perfect for your team. He's not going to, in my opinion, he's not going to do you wrong. And tight ends is one of those things where it's difficult. It's difficult to say, this guy's going to absolutely dominate. He's going to come in and he's going to score a touchdown every game, things like that. Not at all. What I really like about Vance McDonald, number 1 of the best offenses in the league. Number 2, I know we really don't know what this offense is going to look like, but I think he's going to really get his fair share of targets. They're going to have to find that comfort zone again now that Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, things like that are out of the picture. They're going to have to find that comfort zone again, and I really think that Vance McDonald can be the guy to do that for the Steelers. Moving on to my second tight end, going in the 12th round average draft position, is a guy that I'm kind of taking a leap of faith on because I love the guy. I think he plays hard, and I think he's an absolutely great character. Now, I know you don't want to go based off of just because you like the guy, but the guy I'm talking about is Greg Olsen. And I'm not the only one that likes this guy. Cam Newton loves this guy. From what I've read, they're great friends. They're always working out together, things like that. Greg Olsen is coming off of a lingering foot injury that absolutely haunted people last year. People were so high up on Greg Olsen last year. It was absolutely unbelievable. I was kind of out of it just because, he's getting a little bit older, things like that. I really didn't feel like, that the Panthers were going to be all that competitive, which they ended up making a push towards the middle of the season. But I wasn't as high on Greg Olsen as some people were last year, and he hurt his foot, and some people shot themselves in the foot for drafting this guy. It's one of those things that stuck around all season long. But enough about last year. Again, his performance was really disappointing. He was never really fully healthy, but he still managed to pull out 3 top 10 finishes last year. He's a guy that Cam Newton, again, absolutely loves to throw him the ball. This year, he's surrounded by weapons. I mean, You got Curtis Samuel, you got DJ Moore, you got Christian McCaffrey, Cam Newton. Hopefully, is going to be healthy this season. Today is, what is today? Today is June 4th. And from what I read this morning, Cam Newton is still not throwing the football, which is okay. It's just OTA, so I'm not too concerned about it. But I think he's going to get around to doing, of course, performing the way that he should be, getting Greg Olsen his targets in the red zone, things of that sort. But he's dependable, guys. He's, a guy, again, I'm bringing it up because I'm a Cowboys fan, but like a Jason Witten, a guy who's always there. He's a pest. He's not going to go away. He's going to make the plays. He's going to get the first downs. He's going to get the red zone targets, guys. A Greg Olsen can bring nothing but value for you in the 12th round. Now, I know, of course, Dak Prescott is going there, but I mean, I've seen Greg Olsen drop to the 15th round, the 13th, 14th, 15th round. It's unbelievable. I think one mock draft, which, by the way, I've probably done close to about 100 mock drafts, he's going undrafted. It's absolutely unbelievable. So you go out there and you get yourself a Vance McDonald who's going to be, solid. And then you go out there and you take a shot on a guy like Greg Olsen. You don't want to find yourself, again, scrambling to find that tight end, because I promise you guys, unless somebody is dumb enough to drop a top 5 tight end into the waiver wire, which, by the way, if something like that does happen, pick him up. Unless he's hurt, then don't pick him up. But if somebody's dumb enough to think, hey, I drafted a top 5 tight end and he hasn't done anything for the first 3 weeks, drop one of these guys and go and get you one of those guys. I'm telling you. But Greg Olsen, 12th round. Again, some rounds going, if some of the guys in your league don't necessarily know or don't have the confidence in Greg Olsen, go and get you Greg Olsen in the 14th, 15th round. I think he's going to be absolutely nothing but value for your team moving forward. All right, guys. To wrap it up, again, I appreciate you guys coming by the channel. If you like the content, please subscribe. Please like the video. Comment down below, did I miss anybody? Is there somebody on there that maybe you wanted to see? Maybe somebody that you guys think highly of? Is there somebody that again, that I just completely missed? But to wrap it all up, again, guys, thank y'all so much for coming by. But to wrap it up, the running backs. Now this was a position that was really difficult for me, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But my number 1 running back in that mid-round, no late round for the running backs, mid-round for the running back, Darrell Henderson. Now, if you don't know who Darrell Henderson is, he was a premier running back coming out of Memphis in this year's draft. He's a guy that the Los Angeles Rams moved up to get this guy out of the draft. I watched some tape, and boy, is this guy special, man. He is absolutely special. He's breaking tackles. He's running away from people. I mean, he's 208 pounds. He runs a 4.5 40, but holy cow, you put him on the field, and he's running away from safeties. He's running away from, the linebacker position, the cornerback position. Absolutely running away from these athletes, just running away from them. And he's breaking tackles, and he's fighting for extra yardage. He's getting not every, but a lot of carries on the goal line and punching it in from 10, 15 yards out, 5 yards out. He's getting it done. But I know what you're thinking, guys, and if you're not a guy who keeps up with football the way that I do, and if you're not an analyst that keeps up, again, like I do, the reason that I'm saying Darrell Henderson is I know some of you guys are thinking, yeah, but what about Todd Gurley? Things like that. There's no way in hell that I'm drafting Darrell Henderson. I'm getting Todd Gurley, and that's that. Guys, I'm staying away from Todd Gurley. I've been doing a lot of reading. He's got really bad arthritis in one of his knees. He was caught on TMZ, limping limping to the car, not making any comments. And from what I've heard, he's not getting any better. The arthritis is getting worse. It's something he's dealt with in college. It's something he's dealt with in the NFL. And it's just an ugly type of situation. So Darrell Henderson could not have fallen into a better position than he has right now. He's been drafted to one of the top offenses in the NFL for the 2019 season, coming off of a solid 2018. Rams traded up to get him, guys. That does nothing but show me how little confidence they have in Todd Gurley's return back to the field this year. And if he does come back, guys, he's not going to be getting the workload that he did in the past years. He's just not going to be doing it. They don't want to put that type of responsibility on him. They don't want him to get hurt worse. Let's just say this guy comes in and he gets 50-50 carries with Todd Gurley. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that, because what's going to happen is Todd Gurley's going to get him all the way down the field. Darrell Henderson's going to go and punch it in. I mean, it's not rocket science to be able to figure that out. And then on the flip side, if Todd Gurley doesn't get any better, he becomes now one of the absolute steals of the draft in the 7th round. Now, again, I'm recording this on June 4th. We're still in OTAs right now. The last update that I heard was, of course, that Todd Gurley is not getting any better, guys. He's not getting any better. And it can only get worse, especially as the season comes on. You play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 games, and his leg is not going to get any better, okay, guys? So what I'm saying is I'm recording this June 4th, and I know right now his ADP is the 7th round. ADP being average draft position is the 7th round. On June 4th, if we don't hear any more good news, or if we hear more bad news about Todd Gurley, guys, this draft stock is going to absolutely skyrocket. I'm talking he's going to be a 3rd rounder, 2nd rounder. He's going to be one of the top running backs, top 10, top 12 running backs off the board if we don't hear any good news about Todd Gurley's situation, guys. You got to hear me out here. He couldn't have possibly landed in a better situation. He's going to be a guy that can make plays, and he's going to be a guy that can really do it for you, whether Todd Gurley comes back or whether he doesn't. Okay, guys, so I say that to say this. The reason Darrell Henderson is my only running back in the mid-round to late rounds is because his ADP is 7th round right now. And again, I've done close to about 100 mock drafts. Guys, I'm telling you, you have got to target your running backs early in the draft. I'm talking, if you don't have 3 or 4 running backs by the 7th round, you guys are going to be in a world of hurt. I mean, you really are, unless you want to take a chance. In my opinion, I want to stay away from those guys as much as possible. Stay away from them, guys. I mean, we're talking about rookies. We're talking about 2nd string running backs trying to be 1st string. We're talking about role players. We're talking about 3rd down running backs. I'm out. I'm totally out on that. Darrell Henderson, to me, is a guy you can pick up in the 7th round, and that's as late as I want to go to pick up a running back, guys. It's just not worth it. It is just not worth it. So again, guys, pick you up some running backs. Stack up on running backs by the 7th round. In my opinion, there's plenty of wide receivers still left by that time that you can put in and be your number 2 wide receiver. Now, I'm not saying go out there and draft nothing but running backs until you got at least 3 or 4. Go out there and get you a number 1 a number 1 running back, a number 1 wide receiver. Go get you out, go out there and get you your running back number 2, a running back number 3 that you can flex in, because injuries happens to these guys. They get hit. It's the NFL. Everything is so much faster now. People are bigger and stronger and faster than they ever have been. So these guys get hit and injuries happen, okay? Don't find yourself in a situation where, a guy gets hurt and you're fighting 12 to 14 teams on the waiver wire to pick up the handcuff or whatever the case may be. Get you a Darrell Henderson who's a built-in handcuff who can ultimately take that starting role position from Todd Gurley. But even if he doesn't, he can bring you extreme value. And guys, that's really all I have. That wraps up the video. Again, thank you guys so much for coming, showing love to the channel. Please, if you like the content, subscribe. Again, this is my first video on YouTube, so I'm just trying to kind of learn the ropes a little bit. But again, thank y'all for coming by. Slap a like on the video, subscribe, and leave a comment down below if you don't agree with my Darrell Henderson take or my any of my takes. Comment if I left anybody out. and comment who you guys are targeting in the middle to late rounds, and I'll definitely respond, and we'll definitely chit chat on that, guys. But again, thank y'all so much for coming by. Peace.